That morning I slid into my husband's car to borrow it for work and saw a small black phone wedged beneath the driver's seat. The screen lit with a picture I had never seen, a little boy, gap-toothed, smiling into sunlight. I swiped. There was no passcode. The gallery opened to hundreds of photos. In most of them, my husband stood beside that boy, a hand on his shoulder, the kind of smile he used to reserve for anniversaries. In several frames, a woman appeared too, long hair, simple clothes, close enough that their shoulders touched. My mouth went dry. I checked the messages. A thread with Anna stretched back months. "Can you pick him up after school?" she wrote last week. "Yes," my husband answered. "I want time with my son." My son. I read the words twice, then a third time, as if repetition could change them. Hook or coincidence? I needed proof. I tapped open the calendar app. Reminders. Parent-teacher meeting 4:30, pediatrician 10 a.m., Alex birthday cupcakes. The name gave the boy a weight he hadn't had a minute earlier. Alex. I looked up at the quiet street through the windshield and realized I'd been holding my breath. I didn't drive to work. I drove to the waterfront lot where fishermen park at dawn and watched gulls pick at wrappers. I opened videos. In one, my husband reached down and tied Alex's shoelace while Anna laughed behind the camera. In another, he lifted the boy onto his shoulders and spun until both of them were a blur. The second hook landed harder. A notification banner slid over the video. "School meeting tomorrow, 8 a.m., parents." Parents. Plural. Questions stacked faster than answers. Was Alex really his child? How long had this been hidden? Did anyone else know? My phone vibrated. My husband was calling on his regular number. "You took the car?" he asked, cheerful. "Everything okay?" I said yes, because I didn't trust my voice to hold the weight of no. I drove home and slipped the phone into my purse. That evening, he came in late with a to-go coffee, kissed my cheek, and told me a story about a client who kept changing deadlines. I nodded in the right places and set plates on the table. While he showered, I sat on the edge of the bed and pressed play on the newest video. He was filming himself. "Say goodnight, Daddy," Anna's voice said from behind the lens. He kissed the boy's hair. "Good night, son." I locked the bathroom door and cried quietly over the sink until the mirror fogged. When I could finally breathe, I wrote 2 lines in the notes app. Anna. Alex. Paternity and 8 a.m. school meeting, go. If he had built a second life, I would stand inside it long enough to see it with my own eyes. From the passenger footwell came the faint smell of crayons and something sugary, a trace that didn't belong to us. I checked the floor mat and found a crush sticker shaped like a star. I held it on my fingertip for a moment, then set it on the dash like evidence in a case I hadn't meant to open. Even the radio presets had changed. A children's station was saved in slot 4. I turned the volume down and sat listening to the click of the cooling engine. I counted my breaths until my hands stopped shaking. I slept in short bursts and woke before the alarm, the same questions waiting. At 7:30, I parked across from an elementary school I had never visited, holding a stranger's phone that belonged to my husband. The bell rang. Parents gathered in pairs at the door. I sat in my car outside the school and watched the pairs file in, mothers and fathers with coffee cups, hands linked, the easy choreography of families. At 7:58, a familiar figure hurried down the sidewalk with a paper bag. My husband. He checked his watch, looked over his shoulder, and waved at someone behind him. A small boy ran to him. Alex. My husband crouched, opened the bag, and handed him a muffin. The moment felt practiced. I didn't follow them inside. Instead, I took pictures from the car, timestamps, faces, the sign above the door. Proof matters when the truth starts sounding like accusation. After they disappeared, I scrolled the hidden phone again. There were fresh texts from Anna. Meeting changed to 8 o'clock. Thank you. Another followed, a photo of a drawing, 3 stick figures, hands linked, labeled Mom, Dad, Alex. I drove home with a steady plan. I copied the most important photos and messages to my laptop and wrote a timeline. Late nights, trips, meetings that now had context. I didn't add adjectives. Facts would have to carry me. When he came home that evening, he dropped his keys in the bowl and loosened his tie. Long day, he said. He asked what we should order for dinner and asked if I could grab his blue hoodie from the car. My heart thudded at the coincidence. I went down, opened the door, and slid the hidden phone back under the seat exactly where I found it. I brought up the hoodie and placed it on his chair. While he ate, I watched him. He laughed at a dumb commercial. He asked about a neighbor's barking dog. The normalness felt staged now, every line rehearsed. When he showered, I opened my notes and added one more item: confrontation at breakfast. I wanted daylight, coffee, and a table between us. Before bed, I opened one last file on the hidden phone, a short clip recorded 2 weeks ago. Anna's voice said, "Do the face." Alex crossed his eyes. My husband laughed the way he hadn't laughed with me in a long time, unfiltered, full. The sound hit hard, grief for what I never had, and anger for what he took without asking. At 3 a.m., I woke to him turning in his sleep. "You okay?" he murmured. "Bad dream," I said, because it was the simplest truth I had. I lay awake until the sky turned pale. The plan felt solid enough to stand on. I would ask. I would listen. And then I would choose myself. I brewed coffee that tasted like metal and set 2 cups on the table. When he walked in, I slid the black phone between us. His face changed in an instant. The practiced ease collapsed. He didn't sit. "Where did you get that?" he asked. "Under your seat," I said. "Who is Anna? Who is Alex? And why does your calendar list parent meetings?" He rubbed his jaw, eyes on the window. "It's not what you think." The sentence sounded ready, like a line he had saved for emergencies. "I think you have another family," I said, keeping my voice level. "If I'm wrong, say so now and unlock the truth." I tapped the gallery and turned the screen outward, the 3 of them at the park, at a clinic, under a birthday banner. He sat slowly. "Alex is my son," he said. "From before us." I didn't know about him for a long time. Anna told me after we were married. I didn't tell you because I panicked and then it got harder every day. "How long have you been there?" I asked. "1.5 years, he said. "I help with pickups, appointments. I pay support. I stay over sometimes when Alex is sick." The word "stay" made the room tilt. "And Anna?" "We aren't together," he said quickly. "We co-parent. I care about her as Alex's mother." I studied him. Half-truths show in the pauses. I could hear it. "Have you touched her since you knew?" I asked. He looked down, then up, and that was my answer. He reached for my hand. I pulled away. "I wanted to protect what we have," he said. "I didn't know how to tell you without losing you." "You protected yourself," I said. "You decided I didn't deserve the truth." I laid out the timeline I had written, then my phone with the school photos. Proof on proof. This is not an accident. It's a structure. I stood. I felt steady for the first time in days. "I'm leaving tonight," I said. "I won't compete with a lie." He lifted his head. "Please, let's try counseling." "You can explain this to a counselor," I said, "but not to me." The question had changed, not whether he would confess, but whether I would keep any piece of this life. I already knew the answer. As he talked about counseling and repair, my mind reached back to the day we married, the tiny courthouse, the clerk's dry voice, the way we promised no secrets, no surprises. We had kept the form of a promise and broken the content. I felt grief for that exact sentence, for how easily it had been overrun by convenience. I packed while he was at work: clothes, documents, the mug I actually used, the photo of me with my sister at the beach. I left my wedding ring on the dresser and paused. My friend Lena had already made up her couch. "Take the time you need," she said, pressing a spare key into my palm. The call started before I reached her street. Voicemails stacked, apologies, explanations, future promises. I didn't block him. I wanted a record. That first week I slept hard, then not at all, then finally like myself. I wrote a list on Lena's fridge, bank, therapist, lawyer, and moved through it one item at a time. He asked to meet. I chose a cafe with bright windows and sat where I could see the door. When he arrived, he looked older. He said he loved me, that he would set strict boundaries with Anna, that he would earn back trust. I listened because I needed to hear the shape of the story, he told himself. You had a child and a second schedule, I said. You let me make plans around a silence. I can accept that you'll be a father. I can't accept being an afterthought. I was afraid you'd leave, he said. I'm leaving because you were, I answered. We both understood the grammar of it. I expected a collapse. Instead, I felt space. I found a small apartment near the park where I used to run and bought a secondhand table with a wobble I could fix. My laughter came back in pockets and then in whole minutes. Sometimes I think about Alex. None of this is on him. If we ever cross paths, I will be kind. That boundary matters too. On Saturdays, I walked to the market and learned the names of the vendors. I bought a plant and kept it alive. I signed up for a pottery class and made a lopsided bowl that still held fruit. Small things, and they added up to proof that one life was enough when it was honest. Months later, an email arrived from my husband, short, plain. He was moving closer to Alex's school. The custody plan was formal now. I'm sorry, he wrote. You deserved better. I didn't reply. Not from anger, from completion. On the day the divorce was finalized, I made pasta in my quiet kitchen and ate by the window. For the first time in a long time, there was no second schedule hidden under mine. The small twist was this. I still believed in family, just not the one I had been asked to pretend I was living in. Tomorrow I would buy fresh sheets. Tonight I would sleep in a bed that only told the truth.